And happy Monday, as always. We do these coffee talks every Monday, and it's supposed to feel very conversational. You and I are having a conversation, talking about the real estate market. But today is going to feel more like I'm teaching a class. And that was not my intention. But I spent the last few days kind of thinking about what this year is going to be all about for all of us. And I don't want you to think for a second that I'm like Notre Dame of the real estate industry. I mean, I know as much as you do, but I do a lot of reading, and I didn't want this to turn into something around, New Year's resolutions. That's not it either. And it's not like anybody's predictions are actually carved in stone and came down off the mountain. But I spent the last little while thinking about sort of what this year looks like, what my experience tells me from previous years, and I wanted to share some of those ideas with you. I also wanted to take it a step further, and I wanted to talk to you about your financial stability and why that I believe that's something that I think you want to have an awareness about. I wanted to talk to you today about being prepared to capitalize on opportunities should they present themselves. And then what to say, where to find these opportunities, and then from a real estate perspective, what to say to people to convert those. So I got a lot of content that I wanted to cover with you guys today. I wanted to make this really impactful, get you off to a good start this year, and kind of share some of the ideas that have been rolling around in my head. First of all, let's talk about the market, just to get things started, a little bit about the market of 2020, or the year of 2020. It's the pandemic year, and I'd love to put it in our rearview mirror, that's for sure. Last week I had conversations. So one of the things I do is I get on the phone looking for business, just like you guys do. I mean, I preach it, I actually do it. And I was on the phone last week, and I'll give you an idea. I call the presidents looking for work, speaking engagements, Zoom meetings, training sessions, that sort of stuff. And sales is sales. I mean, you guys got a call, I got a call. If you're in management, you're looking for new agents. If you're in sales, you're looking for more listings. And if you're Chris Leader, you're looking for more webinars. So, I mean, we're all out there prospecting for business. So last week I was on the phone with presidents of real estate companies from Toronto, Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, Northern California, Florida, the Carolinas, Atlanta, Northeast, and Southern California as well. So I mean, I'm on the phone calling people and looking for work, and I'm always interested to pick up intel, information, what's going on out there. First of all, they all told me that 2020 was either their best year or their second best year on record. Fabulous, great year for real estate. And we're blessed, because when you take a look at the rest of the economy, and lots of businesses are struggling, and I want you to think about that in the world of real estate, because eventually everything is connected, we were one of the real bright spots. I mean, there were a lot of people who made a lot of money this year in real estate. House prices went up, and I'll talk about that in a second, but there are lots of other businesses, airlines, hospitality, food services. Lots of businesses struggled during this period of time. So we were lucky. We kind of dodged a bullet. I don't like to use the word luck, but we dodged a bullet on that. So when I talked to them and they told me they were having record years, and for the record, I want to say to you, I wish for all of you that you have an exceptional 2021. I mean, that is my wish for you. But the presidents were hoping that they would have another record year in 2021. And I've learned that hope is an indulgence that I can't afford. I need and have learned to take charge of my business and take responsibility for where I am and take charge of my own success. Because if we rely on the market, then our income goes up and down with that market. So let me give you some suggestions, some ideas, some thoughts that I've had. In our world, the world of commission salespeople, you have to make your own security, because we don't have a guaranteed paycheck. You know it. You get up every day unemployed, just like me, and you got to find somebody to employ your services. And we don't have a pension, and we don't have benefits and all of those things. We have to create our own security. So you should filter your decisions through risk versus reward. That would be my suggestion. I'm ambitious, but I'm not blind. In my opinion, some people are careless, and some people are too careful. So, when I talked to the presidents, they said half of the salespeople had the best year they've ever had. They had just an amazing year because of the virus. And half the salespeople had the worst year ever, and they said it was because of the virus. So there's going to be business written out there. Now, when I talk to my 80-year-old mom about this stuff, she says, you know, common sense isn't that common. As a kid, I would do stupid things like any other kid. And in my defense, when I got in trouble, I'd say, well, everybody else was doing it. And her response was, if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you follow them? And I'd say, no, ma'am. And she'd say, well, then use your head a little bit. In the end, we are responsible for our own health and our own success. You have to make your own decisions. You have to filter your own choices. So I want you to be careful, but I want you to be out working. I need you to be thoughtful, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I don't want you in harm's way. And I know that you are a major contributor or the contributor to your family's household income. So it's really important that you stay healthy, but we need to sell houses. So I'll talk about that. Here's something else I want to bring to your attention. Now, I don't want to be, a negative Ned in this conversation, but I have a lot of time in real estate. I've got a lot of time as an entrepreneur behind me. And I've learned some things, unfortunately, through the school of hard knocks. And for instance, I'm going to say to you, behind every great real estate market is a bad real estate market. Now, I'm not an economist. I can't forecast the real estate market. But let me just give you some history here. I started in 1981 in a recession with really high interest rates, 21%. Now, the recession we had was a result of followed right in behind a really great real estate market that they were having in 1979. Now, 10 years goes by, 1989, we're having a boom market, 10 years. 1990, we have a recession. Then we go for another 10 years, and we have a really good real estate market in 99, and then we have a recession in 2000, 2001. Then we have like the best real estate market ever, 2008, 2007. We have a recession in 2008. Now it's 12 years later, and we're having like the best real estate market ever, okay? So let me just tell you what my mentor told me years ago. The marketplace typically cycles in 10 years, 10-year cycles. And he said to me, you're gonna have 3 good years, you're going to have 3 great years, and you're going to have 3 bad years. The good years, he said, will look after themselves. The great years, you need to put enough money away to look after yourself during the bad years. Now, you may say that, history doesn't repeat itself. Maybe there's echoes of it. You could go on to say that you can't forecast what's going to happen based on what's going to happen. You could say it was a coincidence, all of these recessions based on a 10-year cycle. But I have got too many battle scars to put myself in a position that a careless position. So when it's really good here, I was having a conversation with a president from Atlanta in the Carolinas yesterday, and what she said is, you got to make hay while the sun shines, and you got to put a little away. So what's the story for 2021? Well, yours hasn't been written yet. And this is up to you what you're going to do with this. Only you can write this story. Only you can decide what's going to happen with your 2021, given all of the other things that's going on. Now let's take the virus, just move it to the margins just for a second. I strongly recommend that you make as much money as you can right now, given the good real estate market, low interest rates, short days on the market, things are selling. Make as much as you can right now. Pay down your debt and squirrel away a reserve, and I'll tell you why. Because remember, if I'm even close to right, you have good markets and you have bad markets, and your best buys in real estate, your best investments in real estate, and your best opportunities happen on the dip. And what I'm saying about the dip is you buy on the dip and you sell on the peak. Now, to be able to buy on the dip and sell on the peak, you're going to need to have cash available. You need to have money put away. You need to be prepared. So cash is king. Now, I'm going to suggest that if the opportunity presents itself, the market is right, the interest rate's right, the price is right, the locations is right, I want you to think about building wealth for yourself. That's part of being in business. So remember, one of the 4 main cornerstones or competencies in terms of your core 4 values is going to be your wealth building. You want to build wealth. So 2021, we're going to start off the year with record low interest rates. Everywhere I called, there's not enough inventory. Second thing is, when inventory goes down, house prices go up. And I think we've seen that firsthand in 2020. Every one of you on the webinar with me today would say real estate has gone up 15, 20% in our local market last year. We've got historic low interest rates that makes buying homes very affordable. And we've got migration because of the virus. This has been sort of our history. So how do you make the most out of this year? Well, the first thing I want you to know is you want to, let me go back and just say inventory is going to be king. When I talk to the presidents all across the country, I said, what do you think the number 1 problem is this year that could affect your revenue? And these guys and gals are running 1,000, 2,000 salespeople. They said to me, inventory is going to be a problem. We're going to have an inventory problem. It won't be that the agents don't want to work. It's just that we're just not going to have enough houses. In fact, one of the regions yesterday booked me to help them get their agents to go out and get listings. So inventory is going to be a big issue this year. House prices could be a problem as well. And let me tell you why. If prices of real estate have gone up 15, 20, 25%, have people's incomes gone up 15, 20, 25%? And at a certain point, the house prices go up, but the income doesn't, you're going to qualify for less of a house. So it will hit a ceiling at a certain point. We have to keep our eye on interest rates, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So how do you make the most out of this year? Risk versus reward. You want to live to fight another day. So don't put yourself in harm's way just because the market's really good. I don't want you to be stupid. We still have to practice all the safe protocols, gloves, mask, washing our hands, doing all the right stuff. And you want to use technology as a way of doing more business and keeping people safe, including yourself. But we don't want to use it as an excuse for not making connections with people. There's a big difference between talking to somebody and texting them. We may want to look at virtual open houses, virtual listing appointments, but remember, don't use it as an excuse, use it as an opportunity. Don't become complacent. I know we're all getting tired of safety protocols and everybody's getting fed up, especially if you're up north where I am and we're all stuck in our houses and everything's closed. We can't go out and do anything. I mean, we're in almost a shelter in place type of situation up here where we are. All the stores are closed, all the gyms are closed, places of worship are closed, everything's closed. The only thing you can get is groceries. So be safe. So what's the problem? The problem is the inventory. So what's the answer? It's really simple. What you need to work on this year, and you'd make a fortune if you did it. If that's all you focused on, seller listings, seller listings, seller listings. Your question is, how do you get seller listings? Well, it starts by calling everyone in your contact management system. And you need to actually have a conversation with them. So voicemails are good, but they don't count in terms of conversations. Text messages are good, but they don't count in terms of a conversation. Emails are good, but they don't count in terms of a conversation. In your CRM system, I would put in, left voicemail, left sent text message, but don't confuse an email with a phone call. A phone call is so personal. It's about having a conversation with a human being about how they're feeling. And that's going to get that going. So you want to call them, you want to call everybody and find out, number one, how are they doing? What's going on? How did you make out over the holidays? All of that stuff. Ask them if they've thought about making a move this year. Now, I was talking to a really great agent down in LA, and she said, it was interesting. I got so tied up this last while with re-engineering my business, websites and social media stuff and getting things organized. She said, I forgot to do the most important thing, and that was talk to people. And I had brought this up to her. I said, it's really going to be hand to hand this year. And she said, it's surprising you said that because I got back on calling people again. And she said, within a week, right after the holidays, within the first few days, she said, I listed a $3.1 million property in Beverly Hills. And she said, you're absolutely right, Chris. I need to spend time every day in my CRM system calling people and just saying, hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing? How are you making out? What challenges are you having? Now, one of the things you want to say to people when you're talking to them is, if you could change something about your house, what would you change? Would you do a different location? And let them run with it a little bit, okay? So that'll give you some idea. Would you change the floor plan? So these are conversations that you want to have. You want to talk to people. And what I've seen is a lot of migration because of the virus. Capitalize on selling, for instance, their city house if you're in the city. And where are the city people going? They're going to the suburbs. And where are the suburbs going? They're going to small towns. And where do the small town people go? I'm not sure. I've never really figured that part out. I'm being a little comical, but you understand what I'm saying. There's this migration. Everybody's looking for more space. They're looking for a different location. When we take a look at people who are moving from the city and their houses get really big money to move out to the suburbs, they get more house for less money. People from the suburbs who are moving to a small town or selling off a nice house, they're getting something for half the price and twice the house in many times. And we've seen small town real estate go up like crazy in a lot of locations. Some of the biggest increases in value we've seen for years in some of the small towns. So what I'm trying to say to you is there's movement out there, but you got to plant the seeds. You also want to be thoughtful about interest rates in your conversation. People are going to, you want to talk to them about how great an opportunity this is and how they could possibly afford the perfect house, the bigger house, the different house, because rates are so low. Now, you and I live in this world. We're constantly have our real estate radar up and we're always thinking about interest rates for our buyers and sellers, but the rest of the population doesn't think about it as the same way we do. So I'd recommend that you take an opportunity and understand the mortgage rates, because this is going to give you a great chance to close more real estate deals and convince people to move. In my lifetime, this is the lowest I've ever seen. Remember, I started at 21%. If I said to some of our young real estate agents about 21%, they'd look at me like, now, when I started and I was young, if you had said to me, I would see interest rates like 2%, I'd say not possible. So I have seen both extremes now in the mortgage market. And I did a little homework yesterday. I wanted to check around just to see what rates we're doing. The lowest rates I could find for the Canadian real estate agents was a fixed rate at 1.49% and an adjustable rate at 1.65%. Now they were only available for, AAA clients. I checked out the US. The best I could find yesterday in the US was 2.1 on a fixed and 2.375 on an adjustable. Here's the point. It is so cheap right now to use money. My suggestion is you check those rates on a daily basis, because you want to be thoughtful about what they're doing, what's happening, and what direction they're going. And it wouldn't hurt you to read a little bit about the yield curve and the bond market and how it affects interest rates. It'll give you a little bit of insight on what to expect. So in terms of objections that you're going to run into when you're out there talking to people, let's just talk about the buy side for a second, then I'll swing back to the sell side. And a lot of this stuff, it kind of crosses over. But on the buyer's side, you're going to have people who are thinking about buying a house and they're going to postpone their decision. And they're going to say to you, I don't want to pay more for the house than it's worth. The real estate market has been so ridiculous. It's going up, up, up. People are getting, above asking on house prices. I don't want to pay more than it's worth. So you as a real estate professional, you could leave the conversation at that surface level, or you could say, well, okay, I understand that. Nobody wants to pay more than what the home is worth. I get that. But at the same time, one of the things that's making this all very possible are these low interest rates. So let's take a look at what a monthly payment would be for the type of house you're buying. Let's not get hung up on the purchase price. Let's take a look at the cost and what that looks like over 15, 20, or 30 years, depending on how long your mortgage is going to be fixed for. The point is that if the monthly payments are affordable, the top line price is not as important. So you need to be able to come down a layer in your conversation and say, well, I get that, and it's a lot of money, but let's take a look at the math on this, because if you could afford to have the extra bedroom, the home gym, and the bigger backyard, and it was actually costing you less than where you're living right now, is it the monthly payment you're so concerned about, or is it how much you're paying for the house? That's really the conversation here. So that would be one of the things. And you need to have this built in, and you got to smooth it out. You got to practice your scripts and dialogues. So when it comes up, you don't stumble. You communicate with confidence. People are intoxicated with that confidence, and they're going to believe, and rightfully so, they're going to believe the truth that you're communicating, that this is a great opportunity. They want to wait for house prices to come down. Now, timing the real estate market is like forecasting the weather next month. Okay. I've been in this for years. If I could time the real estate market, I'd be retired, living on the side of a mountain. People be making a pilgrimage up to me. Nobody can do that. Not even the Federal Reserve or the Bank of Canada can forecast exactly what's going to happen. There's too many factors out there that we haven't even planned on that affect the real estate market, affect the economy, affect interest rates. It's just so much. I mean, 2019, if I had said to you there was a virus coming, you'd be like, if I had said to you that, we would have political uncertainty, these sort of things have factor in, and we can't forecast that stuff. So waiting for the house prices to come down. So what I would say to them is, and I would curve it back, like I said to you, back to the monthly payments again. People are going to say to you, I don't want to get into a bidding war. And my answer to that is, I can understand nobody wants to feel that they've paid too much for a property. On the other hand, I'm a local expert. I really know the market well. One of the things I do is I protect my buyers to make sure they don't pay more for something than they should. This is the sort of service you can't get from just every real estate agent. You need somebody with my level of expertise in the local community. But listen, looking at houses and buying houses are two different things. The first thing we should do is investigate to see if we see something, because we may not see something, but if we did, then I want you to know I have the expertise at a local level to ensure that I protect your interests and help you with this process. Now, I've let some steam out of it, let some pressure out. People don't feel that they have to buy a house right away, and everybody likes to look. Everybody likes to look. So, so then the next one I have for you is, you want to find one first before we sell ours. Okay, so you're talking to a buyer. This goes on both the listing side and the seller side. And what I would say to them is not that you're doing it wrong, but you're going about it in reverse. The point I'm trying to make is, by doing it the way you're doing it, you could end up costing yourself thousands of dollars. I'd much rather see us get on the market, get top dollar for your house. That way, when we go to make an offer, we don't have to make it conditional and on the sale of a property. And in this market, that would be virtually impossible. So you know how to do that. I taught you that in our leaders classes. Go back and be thorough with that so that you can communicate that and convert that. We want to wait for interest rates to come down. Now, I know that you and I are both roll our eyes with that one, but there is some millennial out there that thinks that at some point they're going to go down even further. And you know what? Even if they did, what's another half a point? At this point, they're so cheap anyways. I mean, the only person that's going to make a big impact too is somebody who's borderline getting into a house. So you need to have you need to be able to say to somebody, and this is what I would do. I would take a chart. I would chart interest rates over the last 20 or 30 years, and I would show them how the interest rates have come down, and where they are right now, history-wise. In fact, I would use this as a get them off the fence type of technique to say, almost like a fear of loss. Is what I would do. Is I would say, listen, postponing this decision could cost you thousands. We could see rates pop by a point or two overnight, and it's happened in history before. If that was the case and you still wanted to buy a house, that would affect your payment substantially. It doesn't get a whole lot better than this, to be honest with you. So you guys know how to use that now. What I want's not presently available. And I can understand why that comes up in a conversation with a buyer today, because if it was, it's gone. If it's in a good neighborhood, it's gone. It's gone like in minutes, right? So what I would do is I would take the price range and the location, and I would show them how many properties came on the market in the last 12 months, how many properties sold. The property they're looking for may not be available today. That's why they need to be really thoughtful about what's happening, because when it does happen and it does come up, you'd hate for them to miss out on the perfect house. So yes, I want them to know it might not exist at this moment, but take a look in this farm area. In the last 12 months in 2020, we had 32 properties come up that would have met your basic criteria. Yes, they all sold, and we expect we'll have the same this year, but you need to be prepared, ready, pre-qualified, organized to go. So when it happens, we don't miss the perfect one. So then the next one I have for you is, I want to wait, I want to talk to you about sellers. So I want to wait till my house goes up. Well, you and I both know that at a certain point that's going to hit a peak. And if interest rates go up, we could see house prices come down. Interest rates go up and down, and it affects the value of houses. So you want to be prepared with your seller for that. Houses are really expensive to replace right now. So yes, I'm not excited about buying a new house, even though we would like to have one. My answer to that is that it's an apples to apples thing. You're going to get a lot of money on your property, and in the process, you're going to pay a little bit more. But the real advantage here is interest rates. They don't want to. They don't want to have people go through their house because of the virus. And my suggestion with that is set up your virus protocols. We've talked about this, so be prepared to make people feel comfortable. Here's what I want to finish with, and I know I could go on. I could do an hour on this content. John F. Kennedy said, "A rising tide raises all boats." So 2020 was a great year in the world of real estate. My question was it a great year because you were great, or was it a great year because the economy was great? I would strongly recommend that you use this great economy to refine your skills, pay down your bills, squirrel away the resources, and should we see a change in the market, when a really great opportunity comes up, you'll be in a position to help build your personal wealth by picking up an investment property at a great price, because cash is king. Guys, we're always here for you. Call us. Tina and I would love to hear from you. Have a great week. I'll see you next Monday. Oh, one last thing before I go. We've got our new virtual training system coming out next week, and you guys get it with this system. It's really cool. Tina and I have been working on this nonstop for 2 months, and it's going to be released next week. So stay tuned. This is going to be fabulous.